Introduction. Howard Edward Red Grange, born on June 13th, 1903, in Forksville, Pennsylvania, was an American collegiate and professional football player. Grange was a standout in high school when he attended Wheaton High in Illinois. He kept his talents in state and entered the University of Illinois in 1922. At Illinois, he played halfback and was selected to the All-American team each year. He then left school to play for the NFL's Chicago Bears in 1925. He joined the New York Yankees of the American Football League in 1926. The league folded after one season, and due to injuries, Grange was sidelined till 1929 when he rejoined the Bears. Grange would remain in Chicago until his retirement in 1934. Grange's legacy left his lightning-like speed and strong influence on fan attendance growth in football. In retirement, Grange became the first popular athlete to be successful in radio and television broadcasting. His radio and television broadcasting career lasted 25 years. Grange was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1951 and the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1963. Red Grange peacefully passed in 1991. Grange popularizing football. Grange was one of the few household names during the 1920s and was one of the most successful players to popularize pro football. Grange's popularity sparked at the University of Illinois when he was nicknamed the Galloping Ghost for his speed and elusiveness. Grange stood out so incredibly due to his unprecedented talent and skill that elevated the sport and made it more entertaining for fans. His stardom took a massive leap when Grange turned in one of the greatest single-day performances in sports history on October 18, 1924. Illinois played Michigan that day, and Grange ran for touchdowns of 95, 67, 56, and 44, all in the first quarter. He would later add a fifth rushing touchdown and a touchdown pass, too. After his last game, he dropped out of college and signed a contract with the Chicago Bears. Many questioned his decision to drop out of college early. He drew big crowds to the Bears' last games of that season, showing potential for the growth in pro football. In 1926, the Red Grange rule was passed, stopping players from playing college football and professional football in the same year. Grange is the only one to ever do so. Pro football was not highly regarded at that time, but with the NFL's attendance surge due to the addition of red, there was some promise for the future. Struggles of NFL fandom in the 1920s. The NFL struggled to sell tickets in the 1920s due to teams being set in small cities where they couldn't generate enough fan support. For example, the Canton Bulldogs won back-to-back championships in 1922 and 1923, but still eventually faced financial failure. With the inability to sell tickets, teams were forced to play in below-average conditions. The Providence Steamrollers played their home games at the Cyclodome, an outdoor bike racing stadium. Since it wasn't made to host football games, the field was a tight fit and often had players uncontrollably running into the stands. In 1929, the Steamrollers and the Chicago Cardinals were forced to reschedule their game due to inclement weather. The game was moved to Kinsley Park Stadium and played at night due to the stadium's recently installed floodlights. The game was a huge success with 6,000 fans in attendance. This sparked the installment of lights in stadiums in the next few years and increased fan attendance exponentially. Increase in attendance. The NFL saw a slow but sturdy increase in ticket sales in the 1920s, and these were some of the highest points in that department during the decade. On Thanksgiving Day in 1925, in one of Red Grange's first pro games, the Chicago Bears played the Chicago Cardinals in front of a record-breaking crowd of 36,000 fans. In December of the same year, the Bears played the New York Giants at the Polo Grounds and drew a crowd of 73,000. Finally, at the end of Grange's year one NFL tour, the Bears played the Los Angeles Tigers in front of a crowd of 75,000. In 1930, The New York Giants defeated the Notre Dame All-Stars, a team of former Notre Dame players, in an exhibition game in front of 55,000 at the Polo Grounds. The earnings of the win went to the New York Unemployment Fund to help those suffering in the Great Depression. The victory helped give the NFL credibility with the press and public. Evolution of football in the 20s. The 1920s are now, in the football world, known as the decade where football gained popularity. It was like this for every sport as well, due to the strong economy for most of the decade and the increased leisure time. Stadiums slowly became bigger and better for each organization. The league benefited from the new introduction of radio and how fans could listen to games. It also benefited from the local newspapers' increase in game coverage. Red Grange's legacy shows the impact on fan attendance during a time period of abrupt change in technology and progression.